Hello, Kim. We're just about to start.
All right. Thank you. So sorry I was late.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, welcome, well, good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of the Hartford School Building Committee. We welcome you and thank you for joining us. We will start with the agenda with a roll call of members, but before we do that, I just wanted to say that we've been trying to work around ways to do public participation in the meetings now that we have the meetings on multiple platforms, and we do value your input. We don't have a direct way for you to communicate with us during the public participation, but I invite you to use the specific chat functions available to you, whichever platform you're using, and send us a message that way. Alternatively, you can send me a text at my number 860, and the number is 9905533. So you can use either whichever platform you're using, YouTube or the other platform, or you can text me at 9905533, 860-990-5533. All right, let's begin with a roll call of members.
Mr. Melvin Cologne?
Here.
Mr. Thomas Clark II?
Present.
Mr. Claudio Bazzano?
Here.
Ms. Kim Oliver?
Here.
Mr. Craig Stallings? Okay, with 4 members present of the committee, we do have a quorum. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the minutes from the last meeting, December 21st. Are there, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moves, Kim Oliver.
Second, Teacher Clark.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on the minutes? And hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is the public, scroll back to the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Butkus, for navigating us through. But next on the agenda is the public comment. Is that correct?
That would be next. Public participation, yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my cell phone, and Nate, do we have anyone participating from the public? Any comments? Read out loud.
There are no public comments via the chat.
Okay, I haven't received any. Let's give it another minute. Okay, thank you. Well, hearing none here and receiving none, I will move on to the next item on the agenda, administrative. I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Butkus.
We have no administrative items for this meeting.
All right, then let us move directly into the action items. Why don't you take it away?
All right, first action item today is change order number 49 to Newfield Downs joint venture for Weaver High School. Total value of this item is $35,692.59. We have majority of the items are eligible for reimbursement. We have a small credit for an unused allowance, and the largest item is to extend the general conditions for project construction manager staffing as we go through the closeout process. This has been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Any questions or comments on this item? All right. let's move directly into a motion for approval. Motion to approve.
So moved. Claudio Bazzano?
Thank you.
Second, Kim Oliver.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Questions, comments? All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, this passes.
Okay. Next item is change order number 22 to Downs Construction for the Martin Luther King Jr. project. Total value is $84,146. The items that are marked as ineligible have timed out from the 6-month submission rule that the state has from the first date of work to when it gets submitted to the state. Since this was prepared, the state has indicated a willingness to review, especially in the perspective of COVID, to consider eligibility. There are, as I said, the items here otherwise would have been eligible for reimbursement had it not been for that 6-month rule. The remainder of the of the items are eligible on their face and will be submitted accordingly. So everything you see on this list today will at least go to the state requesting eligibility, and we'll see if we win the argument on those earlier items. Again, the total value of this is $84,146. This has been reviewed and approved by the Change Order Subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you. To committee members, are there any questions or comments on the list of proposed change orders?
Hey, this is Nat Gale, Director of Operations for the City of Hartford. I just have one question.
I will recognize you, Nat.
Thank you. For the items that are ineligible, if we go to the state and they deem that they are continued to be ineligible, whose responsibility will it be to cover that? Is it the City of Hartford as the owner, or will the contractor cover those costs?
In the instance of ineligible costs due to action or inaction of the CM, meaning, for some reason we timed out on the 6-month rule, there's a stipulation in the city's contract that says that any lost reimbursement will come out of the CM's fee on the project. So in essence, the city will pay, but we'll recoup it from the CM.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Nat. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions or comments? And hearing none, motion to approve.
So moved, Kim Oliver.
Thank you.
Clark.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, this motion passes. Next.
Thank you. Next, we have a request for purchase order to HD Seeger for builder's risk extension due to the extension of the closeout period, construction for the auditorium lasting through February, and the current policy expiring in mid-January. We need to extend that policy through middle of March to the tune of $24,022. So this will be in addition to the builder's risk insurance policy for $24,022, and we ask your approval. This is a first-time review.
Any questions or comments on this request? And hearing none, motion to approve.
So moved, TJ Clark.
Thank you. Second.
Second, Claudio Bazzano.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? This motion passes. Next.
Next, we have a purchase order request to K&S Distributors in the amount of $4,036.50. This is to provide step ladders as inside maintenance materials for MLK. Somehow this particular item of purchase was missed in the list of FF&E that was compiled by the architect, and are items that are necessary for the operation of the building. So we're asking your approval of this item that has already been approved by the change order and bid review committee. So you'll be endorsing their action.
I should say approved after some discussion. There were some questions about why this popped up at this particular time, and it was answered to the satisfaction of the committee, and also I think Mr. Gale was satisfied with the response. Claudia Lozano as well. So any questions or comments on this item?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have one.
Sure.
Jack, is this this contract, the KNS, are they a MWBE or a Hartford-based business?
I can't answer that. Emily, can you answer that?
No, Councilman, they are neither. They were the previous vendor that was awarded the inside equipment, and they are the vendor that Buildings and Grounds uses for their maintenance items.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Any other questions or comments?
Yes, this is Kim Oliver.
Yes, thanks, Kim.
Hi, thank you, Chair. I have a quick question. So if I understand this correctly, this is for the step ladders, correct? For the 4,000 and some change?
Right.
So those step ladders, so they are now owned by the school? Just out of curiosity, like, is that mean that these are now school items that will belong with Claudio and his team with Buildings and Ground?
That's correct. Just like other items of janitorial equipment that were provided.
Okay.
And if I can add, this is Claudio. These items will stay in the school. These aren't items that are going to the facilities department to be used at other schools. These are specific just for this building.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Motion to approve.
So moves, Kim Oliver.
Second.
Second, Claudio Bazzano.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, this motion passes. Next. Oh, yeah.
Next, we have change order number 10 to Newfield Construction for the Buckley High School project. Total value of this item is $4,401. It is to take care of some existing conditions that were discovered in the lower lobby area as you for the new entrance that gets to the visitor center and the Board of Ed space, and so some finish work that took care of some unsightly existing conditions. This has been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Very good, thank you. Any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, motion to approve.
So moved, Kim Oliver.
Second, Seeger.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, this motion passes. Next.
Next, we have our project reports, and we'll begin that with Weaver. Sal?
Good afternoon. Weaver closeout continues. We're expecting that by the end of January, most of the contractors will have their contracts closed out, with the exception of two, the being two contractors that have punch list work remaining, that is climate weather impacted. So that work won't be able to be completed until we get a couple of months down the road till it warms up a bit. One of which is some masonry remediation work, and then the other is the completion of the epoxy coating on the loading dock. Again, both of those are impacted by weather, so those will have to wait until probably March to be completed.
Any questions?
This is Kim. So Sal, is it fair to say then, after that happens, let's say the conditions look good for weather, they complete that in March or so, then at that point, we're ready for full project closeout for Weaver?
That's correct.
Is that the way to interpret that?
Yep.
Okay.
We will continue to work on, closing out all these contractors and getting everything ready so that once this punch list work is complete, the balance of the closeout will be minor. And we'll get everything ready for audit.
Great, thank you.
All right, what's our next report?
Next report, is there a question?
Yes, question for Weaver. Through you, Mr. Chair. A meeting we attended a couple weeks ago still continues to be discussed regarding the fire alarm system, and since we are preparing for a close, it was mentioned in the meeting, although I did not receive an official word or communication that there was an admittance of the fire alarm being installed incorrectly. Having spoke with Chief Freeman and the fire marshal's office, that information did not come from the chief's office or the fire marshal's office. So I continue to talk about this because this is continually to be brought up to my attention out in the community, and I think that this situation needs to be addressed by way of a letter or some sort of communication to validate that what is installed in Weaver High School is to city and state fire code, and it is a system that meets all the safety requirements as outlined.
Would you like the letter to come from the Hartford School Building Committee or from the project manager?
If I can step in the middle of this, Mr. Chair. That letter, I think a letter sufficient to the councilman's request, was issued by the State Fire Marshal's office, I believe a year ago. This issue has been beaten to death so many times, we can't even tell that it's a dead horse. It has been verified through the design team, through the city's inspection department, and all the way through to the State Fire Marshal's office, that what was installed was what was designed, which is what was required by code at the time it was designed, and it was installed according to the documents that went out to bid. The city got everything it paid for, the city got everything that it asked for, and it has been verified to be appropriate.
Yeah, I can sense the frustration in your voice, and I can certainly understand that. I think it would be no harm to take that same letter and send it to whoever.
Yeah, if that letter, I understand the frustration, but I myself would like to bring closure to this topic, and that letter can be resent to me, so I can forward it on to the community organization. I would greatly appreciate that.
I would be happy to do so.
Yes, if I can interject, this is Councilman LeBron, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, Mr. Buckets, in partnership with Majority Leader Clark, we want to not beat this dead horse anymore. So we want to be able to partnership with you. I think added to that is you do have a new council here where, folks are reaching out to us as well, where this process has started with a formal council. Although Majority Leader here was a part of that, I think, being new council members, this is, although it's old to you, it's fresh in our mind. And I hope that you can understand that, and that from a partnership perspective. What I also would add is it's not just about being the code. So I'm not sure what the letter addressed, but it's on top of what was supposed to be contracted for the system. So I think it's twofold. It's the contract verbiage in terms of what was supposed to be installed and what was actually installed. And then I think we've all know that it is up to code. I'm pretty sure that that wouldn't be the case. No one would allow something like that to happen. But not only the code specifications, but contractual specifications And if you can also send that letter to me as well, I greatly appreciate it.
Be happy to, yes.
Just, if I may, just to add one bit, the contract documents were reviewed by the city fire marshal, and he concurred that what was installed is what was called for on the contract documents, which also satisfied code. We've looked at this from about 6 different directions. So I assure you that what was installed is what was designed, what was bought, what was paid for.
And again, it's a matter of just sharing it with new council members so that everybody's informed. And that issue of the contractor has also been addressed in that particular letter that you're going to send, Jack?
As far as being what's on the contract, I'd have to reread the document. Maybe we need to pull the local letter in addition to the state letter. But one of those six ways that we've looked at this issue that Sal just mentioned was in response to an FOI by the complainant, who was invited into our office, where all of the project documents concerning that particular system were laid out on the table for their review, including the shop drawings submitted by the installing contractor that were reviewed and accepted by the design engineer. All of the documents were made available. They had the opportunity to come in and inspect them. Yet and still, this, as soon as they find a new ear, they're repeating the same misinformation.
Well, thank you for sending the letter and just bringing everybody up to speed who hasn't been familiar with this issue, which I entirely sympathize with. Has a very long history, and I know that you've worked very hard on this issue in your team. So
we're happy to share the information. We're happy to share the information.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So let's move on to the next status report.
I'll be picking up the report for MLK. Brian's out ill today. Work continues on project closeout through the various contractors. We also, as you saw with the list of change orders, are cleaning up some older documentation as far as changes on the project. That will continue over the next couple of months as they work on contractual closeout for the various trades. At present, after today's action, I believe we have something to the order of $600,000 worth of work that was implemented by change order that still has to come before you for final documentation and approval and payment. So there is quite a backlog of the documentation to clean up while we are finishing things such as I believe it was just a week or so ago or in this next week that we will get the full C of O, certificate of occupancy, for the gymnasium. The work in the auditorium is continuing. That timeline has been dragged out a bit more than we had hoped. Right now, the projection is that by the end of February, we should have construction completed in the auditorium. And then we'll be able to bring everything towards final closure, preparation for audit, and get the troops off the site finally. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We are approaching the completion of the hammer swinging, and the paper pushing is following suit. Are there any questions?
All right, next.
Burns School, Toya, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Good afternoon. In regard to the Burns pre-K classrooms, the phase 1, the renovation is 100% complete. The classrooms have been renovated and the oil tank has been removed. In regard to the Burns renovation, we have completed the VEDD design and it's being reviewed by the design team. The design team is in the process of completing the DD estimate and the reconciliation. We will be meeting with the advisory committee the first week in February and moving forward for approval for the BOE and HSBC. And if we are approved, we will be meeting with the OSCGR the last week in February. Any questions?
Ms. Hammond, I just urge you to be a little more parsimonious with your use of acronyms. So you mentioned something like DD a little while ago, and that one just went right by me.
Design development.
Thank
Can you hear me? I apologize.
Yeah, no, you threw out a lot of initials. Make sure that, and can you tell us what OSCGR is, please?
That is the state.
They're the ones who pay the bills, right? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
My apologies.
And the other one was the Hartford School Building Committee, and I think you threw another one in there too, but
Board of Education.
BOE, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions? All right, hearing none, I guess we're on to Buckley.
Okay. Update on the Board of Ed district office space, 97% complete. The elevator was completed this past week. However, we will not see state elevator inspector until the end of next week. Their claim is that they're down from 6 inspectors to 3. So it's taken us a full 3 weeks to get them out there to do their final inspection. Other than that, there's just a little bit of punch list left for the again Board of Ed district office space. The architect is proceeding with the design development documents for the Buckley School proper. We did go to the Office of School Construction Grants this past week with that phase 5, which you approved last month, the demo and abatement of the Buckley proper. And we have a couple of little things to button up. We expect that by the end of this week or beginning of next, all those things will be in the hands of the state, and we will put phase 5, the abatement and demo, out on the street to bid. We have gotten a verbal approval from the Office of School Construction Grants for additional funding for the district support space, which includes the commissary, print shop, Roscoe office, a couple of other things. We do not have it in writing. We do not have a formal approval, although we've been told that that letter is forthcoming. And once we receive that, we will actually have to go to City Council to present what the options are for basically an additional non-priority grant to fund the district support space. Again, we're hoping that we'll have that letter by the end of this week, and we can make a formal presentation to the City Council, hopefully at their next meeting.
Okay, any questions?
If I may ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
Yeah, Sal, if you can, just for the sake of the members of City Council, members of the public on this committee, can you give a sense of the magnitude of cost for that support services that will be coming to City Council?
Yes, we're looking at, based on our last estimate, we're looking at just a touch under 30 million. So I would say 30 million is probably the number that would be presented to the council.
Great.
And again, that's it. Well, Jack, is that at 95 or at 80% reimbursement?
We're being told we will see 95%.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Great. And yeah, and I'll just note for the members of City Council, I'm working directly with our Office of Management and Budget to, understand the cash flow impacts on that additional request. So that will be included in any sort of formal report that goes to City Council.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions on any of the status reports? Okay, where do we move on to project closeout?
Touching between the EEO status for Weaver and MLK, as we're essentially in wrap-up mode, there really are no changes to the numbers. In Burns, the numbers, Burns and Buckley, the numbers have been quite small as far as labor hours to date for the initial projects. You'll see more formal reports coming forward as we get into the renovation phase of each of those projects. Moving into project closeout, the list of projects that you see here, as we refer to them as the legacy projects, those that predated our team's involvement with the school construction program. They are at various stages of review by the state auditors. We unfortunately do not have an official update available from them as to which projects are about ready for an audit report and which are still in process or still on the shelf. So unfortunately, we have no means of understanding just where the final closeout finances are on this list of projects. We will provide to you whatever information we're able to glean as the process moves forward.
We have Buckley and MLK on this list. I guess these are pretty old then.
Those were items that were done approximately 10 to 12 years ago as small code type of projects. And I believe both, I know Buckley Bathrooms, I think, was a $700,000 project. The MLK code project, I don't remember the value offhand, but I believe in both cases, they were under the $2 million threshold, which the state uses for the 20-year amortization. Again, due to the length of time and the small cost, relatively speaking, of those two, there has not been any discussion about the city having to pay back portions of those funds that were used for those efforts. Again, the official audit reports for each of these 15 items has not been made available.
Just to ask, Mr. Gale, you're completely on top of these, I'm sure, and you're trying to move these along also?
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It'd be nice to get some of these off the list eventually. Is there any other business before any questions about these closeouts or the equal opportunity report?
Mr. Chair, is Kim.
Yes.
I have a question. So I believe, Jack, I want to say you mentioned that for dollars that have been owed maybe back to the city, they were holding off on to finish up all the other reviews before providing any money back. How will that work as more projects are closing out? So like, for example, we talked earlier about Weaver was probably a few months away from having a project close out. Will that now just become this running list and there may be dollars that's owed back to the city? Is that what you're expecting?
In a best case scenario, yes, we would be seeing money come back. We know, for example, on the closeout of West Middle School that there were funds that would be payable to the city based on the fact that the state holds a certain amount of essentially retainage from its payments to the city throughout the life of the project and the final billing, so to speak, that got submitted for the project. And after a successful audit, there were dollars that were coming from those sources. Due to the fact that there were these 15 lingering projects that hadn't been reviewed yet, and from what we've been told on some of the initial reviews that they've done on projects on this list, where the city might be in a position to pay back funds to the state. The state was saying, well, we're going to sit on this West Middle money right now to use as an offset for some things that we find in the other audits. Depending on what they find as they go through this list of projects, and depending on what dollars are eligible to be paid back to the city as we close out Weaver and MLK, there could be money that comes back to the city. The money that would otherwise come from those projects may help offset some of the payback, or we could end up at the end of the day with a number that still exceeds what's due and owing to the city, and the city may be in a position to be asked, to pay something back. I know with the city's current financial condition, that's not any kind of good news. So there might be an opportunity for some action by the state to forgive that debt. But again, that would have to be determined before anybody could put something together and put it forward to the legislature. So the real link to all of this is to have these 15 items reviewed, have a bottom line tabulated, and then we can have the conversation about whether or not there's money that needs to be forgiven.
Thank you. That's helpful. I appreciate that, especially I know you're still waiting for details on the audit review, so thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Is there any other business before the committee?
Mr. Chair, it's Kim Oliver again. I have a question, and it may not be under this committee. So just for clarification, I understand that there was some work that's happening in Hartford Public High School in terms of the athletic fields. Is that under a different purview? And Claudia, I don't know if you would know this answer, but I've been asked several questions by community members about it. That I think they think it comes up here and it usually doesn't.
Mr. Bazzano would probably know that.
Through you, Chair. What I know of that grant is it's a grant given to the City of Hartford Department of Public Works, and it's being managed by the City of Hartford Department of Public Works. It's not part of Office School Construction Grants and Review. And it's
Thank you.
I believe it's a $1 million grant.
That's really helpful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So because the source of the money is not from the state, it doesn't fall under the purview of the Hartford School Building Committee. Is that right, Mr. Bazzano?
Correct. Mm-hmm. It's not a percentage grant unlike this. It's the whole dollar value.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Very good. Any other questions? And just out of curiosity, do we have folks from the public still with us at some point during the meeting, or still with us?
There are people viewing you from the public, but they have no comments, questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, if there's nothing else, then motion to adjourn.
So moved, Kim Oliver.
Second.
Sorry, so moved, Claudio Bazzano.
Okay, second, Kim Oliver.
Sorry.
No worries.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. All right. Bye, folks. See you next month.
All right.
See
Thank
you
you.
next month. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.